Stepson Joined Me in the Bathtub is a true story of infidelity and family betrayal. Let's join and subscribe me before this unbearable story. It was a humid July evening when I decided to indulge in a rare moment of relaxation. The sun had dipped below the horizon, casting a warm orange glow across the bathroom walls. I filled the tub with warm water, adding lavender-scented bubbles that drifted lazily to the surface. The world outside felt distant, a mere echo of everyday life. Little did I know, that evening would unravel a series of events that would change my life forever. Life had been complicated since my marriage to Mark. He had a 9-year-old son, Ethan, from a previous relationship. As a result, I tried to be the best stepmother I could, attempting to forge a bond with him and make my place in their lives. However, it was never truly easy. Ethan was a quiet boy, often lost in his own thoughts, and our interactions were often stilted. Still, I was determined to create a loving home. That evening, Mark had been out, attending a business dinner he had promised would be over by 9. I looked forward to some peace and solitude. After soaking for a while in the warmth, I closed my eyes and let the stress of the day melt away. Just as I began to drift off, I was startled by a soft knock at the door. "Mom?" Ethan's voice called softly. "Can I come in?" I hesitated. Recent events had made me feel uneasy about my relationship with him. But with a sigh, I replied, "Sure, come in." Ethan entered, peeking around the door as if unsure. "I couldn't sleep," he said, his small voice barely above a whisper. "Is it okay if I join you?" I chuckled at the innocence of the request, but something about it felt off. "Sweetheart, this is a bathtub, you know. It's not really for swimming. Can't you just relax in your room? Please," he insisted, his big brown eyes pleading. "I won't tell Dad." Something in his tone hinted at a deeper need. I relented, moving the edge of the bath mat just enough for him to squeeze in. As he settled on the floor beside the tub, I found myself feeling oddly protective. Ethan was still very much a child, but there was something in his gaze, an intensity one had never noticed before. It sent shivers down my spine, but I dismissed the feeling, attributing it to the vulnerability of the moment. We talked for a while, discussing everything from school to his favorite video games. But soon, his questions took a surprising turn. "Do you think Dad loves me more than you?" he asked suddenly. The question caught me off guard. "Of course he does, Ethan. You're his son." He bit his lip for a moment, his brow furrowing. "But sometimes it feels like I'm a burden to him. Ever since you married, he's been so busy. He hardly has time to play anymore." I could sense the loneliness in his words, and my heart ached for him. "That's not true, sweetheart. He loves you, just like I do." A long silence enveloped us, the air thick with unspoken thoughts. Then, unexpectedly, Ethan leaned in closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "Do you love me more than you love Dad?" My heart raced as I attempted to decipher the complex emotions swirling in the room. This conversation was crossing boundaries I never imagined we'd breach. "I care about you very much, Ethan, but..." Suddenly, he interrupted, "Because I love you, you know. You make me happy." His expression shifted, a subtle change that sent a sharp jolt through me. Before I could respond, Ethan leaned in even closer, his eyes darting between mine as if searching for answers. I felt the weight of his gaze and the intensity of his feelings, a confusing mixture of admiration and something deeper that seemed to bubble beneath the surface. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted, the innocence of our conversation evaporating. "You know, Mom," Ethan said slowly, "I think we could be really happy together. Just the two of us." The hairs on my neck stood up as realization washed over me. This was no longer a child's innocent affection. There was an underlying tension, a dark prospect of feelings that should never have surfaced. "Ethan, this isn't right," I stammered, every instinct screaming at me to set boundaries. "We're family. You need to understand." But before I could finish, the front door swung open, and Mark's voice echoed through the house, casually announcing his return. Panic clutched at my chest like a vice, and I looked at Ethan, who seemed unfazed. Instead, he smiled knowingly, an unsettling look in his eyes. Mark entered the bathroom not moments later, his expression shifting from confusion to surprise as he took in the scene before him. The tension in the air was palpable. "What's going on here?" he asked, his eyes darting between us. My heart raced as I struggled to find the words to explain. But Ethan spoke up first, a sly smile creeping onto his face. "Just hanging out, Dad. Isn't that okay?" "Yeah, just a little family bonding," I added weakly, desperately searching for a way to diffuse the situation. But as Mark's gaze lingered on Ethan and then shifted to me, I could sense the cracks forming beneath our family veneer. In that moment, secrets lingered, and an unspoken threat hovered in the air. Trust, once sacred, was now contaminated by a betrayal neither of us dared to name. As the night wore on, I found it nearly impossible to shake the feeling that our lives had irreversibly changed. The dynamic had shifted, and I realized that the seemingly innocent moment in the bathtub had unveiled a more complex narrative of desires, resentments, and dark confessions that were yet to come to light. What had begun as an attempt to connect as a family had spiraled into a tension-filled conundrum I wasn't sure how to navigate. And as we sat there, pretending to carry on as usual, I could sense that everything had shifted forever. The bond of family was now tainted, and a sense of impending betrayal loomed large.